I am not a fan of Formula 1, but always wanted to analyze a game about Formula 1. Because of that, I decided to look for some freeware games about Formula 1, and I found this game right here, Singtel Race or Singtel Race 2008. Unfortunately, this is one of those games that wasn't received very well and is considered a bad freeware game. So today we are going to answer the question, how bad is Singtel Race really?
Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it.
Okay, Singtel Race, Singtel Ultimate Race, Singtel Race 2008, whatever. This game has that many names. This game was made in 2008 and it was released as a freeware. Unfortunately, I have no idea who made this game, and you know what, maybe it's for the better because I'm actually going to be very critical about this game. And since I'm going to be very critical today, let's criticize the graphics. For a freeware game released in 2008, the graphics are terrible. What am I looking at here? Low-res textures, no lighting, and it looks like a game released in 1998. I am not joking. Even the UI is incredibly ugly. You're looking at the UI right now, and you could also see it at the beginning of the video. It takes way too much space on your screen, and it's also very blocky, and that's the best way I can describe it. Now you're probably thinking, oh, this game was released 14 years ago at the time of me recording this video, so of course it's going to look outdated. Well, to that I say, let's compare the graphics of this game to other freeware racing games that were also released in 2008. Driving Speed 2 and Trackmania Nations Forever. I was originally going to compare the graphics of this game to AAA releases, but that's not fair. And even then, Trackmania Nations Forever comparison is also not fair, so that only leaves Driving Speed 2. Driving Speed 2 was released the same year as Singtel Race and looks miles better than this game. So I have to ask, what is that? What am I looking at? What went wrong? To make things worse, the graphical options are incredibly limited. Yes, the game does support 1080p and other widescreen resolutions, but where's the rest? Where's anti-aliasing? Where's anisotropic filtering? Where's VSync, even though you don't need it in this game? At least the gameplay is smooth because there is no FPS cap, so that's cool, but still, where are the graphical options? And now it's time for the two biggest criticisms I have. However, the second one, I'll leave that for the gameplay. Because trust me, it will be important when I get into that segment. But anyway, the biggest graphical complaint I have is that the FOV is 35. 35! This is unacceptable. Thankfully, you do get an FOV slider. Wow, thank God. But guess what? Even if you turn the FOV all the way up, it gets stuck at 80 degrees. So the best FOV you can get is 80. It's still better than 35, but it's still bad. Oh my god. Who designed the FOV like this? Do you know what is the actual worst part about the graphical settings? This is one of those games that doesn't have a page on a PC Gaming Wiki, so if you want to fix something, You can't fix it at all. Also, did I mention that every time you relaunch the game, the FOV resets to 35? Yeah, that speaks for itself. I've been talking about the graphics for 5 minutes now and I didn't even talk about the story and the gameplay. So let's talk about the story. I'll be honest, even if this game had a story, I would criticize it as well. Fortunately, the game doesn't have a story, so I can move on to the gameplay. And this is the part of the video where I'm gonna be really angry. In concept, this is supposed to be a simulator, or Formula 1 simulator, but in execution, well, I'll explain. When you launch the game, you can't even launch the game. Now I know what you're thinking. What? Okay, hear me out, hear me out. When you install the game and when you try to launch it, it goes into this weird launcher. You can set up your controls, or should I say controls, set up your controls in quotations. I'll get to that later. Change some graphical settings and some other stuff. But you can't launch the game from the launcher. If you want to launch the game, you have to go to the folder where you installed the game, look for a file called NKS, and then the game launches. We're off to a great start. When you finally launch the game, you start in your box. And the first thing you're gonna do, I assume, is going to drive forward to get out of this box. And the problem is, when you press anything, your bullet, I hope that's how you name a Formula 1 car, and when you press anything, your vehicle doesn't move at all. So, do you know what do you have to do to start moving? You have to turn on the controls. That's already stupid, but it gets worse. Do you know how to turn on the controls? Press the K key. You have to press a key on your keyboard to turn on the controls. What? Whose idea was this? The controls should be on by default. I shouldn't have to press a key just so I can start moving. Man, I'm about to lose my patience, honestly. When you press the escape key, you can choose where you want to spawn. You can spawn either in your own box or in the pits. I choose pits because it's a bit easier to move out, move to the track itself. However, when you choose your spawn, every time you choose it, you get this ugly UI where you can change a lot of things about your vehicle. The problem is, while there are a ton of options, man, I can speak, sorry. There are a ton of options, but the game doesn't explain to you what anything does. You're completely clueless while you're doing this. I am also going to say that for me, changing any vehicle settings in any racing game is black magic to me. So for this video, I left them at the default state, which I think is reasonable. Even when you change everything you need to know or not change anything at all, your preference, you can't close the UI until you move. The problem is, the game doesn't explain you how to move. Why? And to an extent, the game doesn't explain anything to you. When you install the game, you can find the manual in the game files, but it doesn't explain anything either. help me, please help me. So how do you move? The game uses manual transmission instead of the automatic transmission, which means that you need the key for this. The default key is space, but when you use space, it automatically puts you into reverse every single time. Oh, sorry, I have to press the A key, which is gas, and then press the space key. And if you do it that way, you can move forward. Who thought this was a good idea, honestly? Braking is with the Z key by default, and it works as intended. You can also try switching gears to the lower gears while you're trying to stop yourself, but in order to change gears to the lower settings, you have to hold the brakes in order to do this. That's everything you need to know about the controls, and of course you can turn by left and right arrow keys, so nothing to explain here. But do you remember when I mentioned that big complaint that I was going to leave for this segment of the video? You can't change your controls. Even if you use a controller, it's incredibly hard to set up since the manual and the game doesn't tell you anything. The default keys will always be default. You can't change anything. The control scheme is atrocious, and I I don't know. Let's just move on to... I'm just going to talk about the track and the vehicle you're using, because I don't know anymore. So let's talk about the track. Oh, I should also mention that there is only one track in the game and there is only one vehicle you can use, so this is going to be quick, don't worry. You are racing in Singapore, and I would say that this is a decent track, but I do have one big complaint and few minor nitpicks. The one big complaint: there are too many turns. You can't go fast on this track anywhere. Can I just quit the video? Almost every single turn on this track is sharp, which means you have to brake every single time, and well, that's it. You just have to brake every single time. You don't feel the speed. Your momentum is gone. It's terrible. It's just terrible. Also, you can't change your camera settings. Great. Now that would be really useful in this game since you don't see where you're going even if you raise the FOV. What about the nitpicks? Honestly, I am so done with this video. Let's talk about the vehicle and the handling and everything about it. Because I'm done with this video, I'm just going to say this. This is supposed to be a simulator, but it's an arcade racing game. That's false advertising. So you've noticed that I was crashing almost all the time, right? That's because I wanted to show you that even if you crash, nothing happens. In the best case scenario, your engine will just stop working, but that's it. I'm not joking when I said that I'm done with this video. It's time for the conclusion. How bad is Singtel Race really? It's unplayable. Don't play it. Just don't. Don't. Just don't. It's a waste of time. Even if it's free, it's not worth it. Literally everything, yes, everything is better than this game, and I would much rather play Nikita's Speedy Pirates. No, I am not joking.
But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.